going deep spiritually and spending time just soaking in the Word of God and with God, it's very healing and nourishing actually to the adrenal glands and pumping them up. That alone will help hot flashes. So there are a lot of hormonal issues that women struggle with. And I think that there are some really practical things women can do to start to heal their hormones.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Joyce Meyer's Talk It Out podcast. Today, we are talking all things women's health with Dr. Josh Axe, and it's going to be so helpful, so practical. You've probably seen Dr. Josh everywhere. You're a busy, busy man. We just see you popping up all over the place.
I try and stay busy, not as busy as her.
Well, she is also a very, very busy woman. But Dr. Josh is a doctor of natural medicine. He's a clinical nutritionist. He's also a man on a mission just to help people live their best, healthiest lives, and also basing it on what the Word of God says about how we can do that, which is hugely important. So what we want to do is get real girly on you today and talk women's health.
He's on the pink couch.
I know. It's
right.
Perfect.
One man and three women and a pink couch.
Love it for him.
You couldn't do any better.
That's great. That's great.
So I know that there are many things that are natural to come up with women's health. But some of the things that we have to ask you are coming from our viewers, our listeners who are asking some of the questions online too. But just a good place to start. Are there things that just come to mind for you that you would say women often deal with this, and maybe they don't know how important this particular area is?
Yeah, well, I'll say my biggest surprise coming out of school when I opened up my clinical practice in Nashville was how many women have hormone issues. In fact, nobody tells you in school that probably 2 out of every 3 women.
All women have hormone issues.
Yeah, well, as the number of women with hypothyroidism was really surprising to me. That was so frequent. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, women going through and having really severe menopausal symptoms. And then today, even more infertility, PCOS. So there are a lot of hormonal issues that women struggle with. And I think that there are some really practical things women can do to start to heal their hormones using food as medicine. There's some great advice in the Bible, in the Word of God. And so, my mom, when she was battling cancer, one of the go-to books she read was Battlefield of the Mind. And I think there's this mindset medicine that the Bible teaches that you teach.
Yeah, I heard you've been pushing my book.
Too.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have. I've actually talked about it several times.
And now we're pushing yours. So
thank you. Yeah.
Well, explain that a little bit. When you say mindset medicine, what are you saying?
Well, when we read the Bible, when Jesus talks about healing, the first thing he doesn't say is take a supplement or eat a food. He says your faith or your belief will heal you. And so I really think that's the single most important thing. When I look at medical conditions today, I think about half of it is diet and food related. That's a big piece. Yeah. But I actually think that stress and our spiritual and mental health is equally, if not slightly more, impactful to our physical health. And that's very true with specific conditions. And I'll give you an example of how this cascade works with hormones. Like the hormone that most affects other hormones in the body is cortisol. And so if you are stressed, if you're living in a state of fear and worry, and you don't believe that God's a good father and that he's going to be there for you and protect you, you're living in a constant state of insecurity, cortisol's higher. Well, when cortisol goes high, that causes insulin to go high, so your blood sugar, when that's high, that imbalances estrogen. And then the other thing that imbalances is then your thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. So there's this cascade happens, especially with stress, that's very, very disturbing to women's hormones.
Now, I hear a lot of women right now, especially a lot of moms that are saying, oh no, what do I do?
Well, and here's something that's so funny. When I opened up practice as well, I tended to not, being more in natural medicine, I typically wasn't the first person somebody went to. Well, now things are changing, and so now it's more common. But back then, people would come in, and I was maybe the 10th doctor they'd seen, and they would come in with, again, hypothyroidism, and they would say, I'd ask them what their doctor told them to do, and most of the time it was just Synthroid or a thyroid drug. Right. But sometimes their doctor would say, eat healthier and reduce stress. And I would ask, well, what did he tell you to do to reduce stress? Or what did she tell you to do? And the answer was almost always, well, they didn't. They just told me to reduce stress.
Sure.
Stop it. Just stop it.
Just stop it. And,
Okay.
and I found the best way to combat stress is to not actually necessarily focus on the stress, is to build peace in your life. Most people are busy. I mean, most people, and this is true of moms, the moment they wake up to the moment they sleep, everything is scheduled out. I mean, something every moment of the day, this over busyness. And I think if they can just schedule in, I'm going to spend 30 minutes in gratitude and reading my Bible today. And I'm going to have, time where I'm going to do something I love. It's playing pickleball or reading a novel or going for a walk.
Yeah.
So I think scheduling in things you love to do that build peace, that are healthy for you, that's really the best way to combat stress. And of course, today a lot of people talk about meditation. I think if you do it the way the Bible teaches, which is really meditating on the Word of God, that absolutely is healing and rejuvenating and can help reduce stress. But I think doing things you love to do, that tends to be the best stress reliever.
Last week, my husband and I were at dinner. My mom's in town, so we were like, we got to go out as many times as we can without the kids because we have free babysitting. So we went to dinner, and Mike was really excited because it was just the two of us. He could have a whole conversation, and I was just in a bad mood.
A whole conversation.
We had a whole one, no child
Without interruption.
And I was just in this weird mood, and he was like, what do we need to talk about? Is there something going on? Is it work? Is it kids? And I said, I don't know. And I was so mad, and I had no idea why. And so through this conversation, I said, I think I'm really tired, and I think I'm stressed out because all day, every day, there's this, and then this, and then this, and my mind is already thinking about all the other things, and I don't know how to stop it. So I think so many women feel that way. So when you talk about women's health, like this is something we may know, but we don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you shared
I
that.
think one thing that people have to learn how to do is say no.
That's right. So,
And that's been huge for me in trying to lower stress levels, is that I can't do what everybody wants me to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And anytime somebody wants a yes, they're not happy with a no.
Well, and one of the things I know, Joyce, you talk about in your book is people pleasing. And that's that,
Yeah.
that's that one
It
of
is.
the core things. Yeah.
Well, you take me, I was abused as a child. So one of the doctors I had at Palm Health, she's not there anymore now, but she said, your number one problem is your adrenal glands.
Yeah.
They're exhausted and worn out. And she said, you can't really heal them, you can only support them. And the number one thing that helps them is ashwagandha, and I'm allergic to it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a nightshade. Some people are. What's interesting about that, when you look at ancient Asian medicine, there's a report came out this week, and this is mind-blowing to me. Japan, which has by far the greatest longevity, they have 95,000 centurions, people over 100 living in Japan.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it blows everywhere else out of the water. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. But one of the things they do there is they practice a type of medicine where they really look at the body and they attune different organs, especially the adrenal glands, having a battery. And I remember going into this Asian doctor once, and I was my first couple years of practice, I was just way overworked. And I started having some health issues myself. And I'm like, I'm eating perfectly. What's going on? And he goes, Dr. Axe, your battery should be here. It's here.
Yeah.
Okay. And I started noticing things like, okay, well, even though I felt like I didn't feel like I was stressed. And I kept saying, I'm not stressed. But he said, you're just doing something all day long. Like I would get home from work, and after dinner, I
Well,
would
and
be on my
strong
laptop.
people don't want to admit they're stressed.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people, and I found simply, this was it for me, this one thing. After dinner, stop doing things. Just relax, read a book, listen to an audio book, watch something, typically with my blue blockers on, not too late because of all the blue light. But generally, try and and that made literally, boom, all my symptoms went away about a month later.
That's really
That's
interesting.
great.
Yeah.
My daughter just said to me the other day, she said, okay, I have got to find an answer to these hot flashes. I cannot put up with them anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't want her to take estrogen because I had breast
Cancer risk.
And so
here's what helps that. So when you are going through perimenopause and menopause, estrogen starts to drop, and those hormones tend to bring coolness and moisture to the body. So the reason why women are getting hot flashes is because the body isn't able to regulate its cooling and moistening mechanism as well. This is also why you can start to feel some dryness, brittle hair, dry skin, those issues start to happen in menopause. However, there are foods that can act as medicine to bring more moisture and coolness to the body. One of those would be doing steamed vegetables, specifically celery, mint tea. So mint is very good for this. And then there are also foods that bring moisture. Yogurt is a really good one. So it could be Greek yogurt, could be goat's milk yogurt or something like that, but that raw yogurt. Eggs are actually good for this, specifically egg yolks.
I ate one of those a day.
Perfect.
Good job, Joyce.
Yeah. And so, but there are very specific foods, and there's actually a type of medicine called Chinese medicine, and they call them yin foods, and doing a lot of steamed vegetables, a lot of healthy fats, avocados, that actually helps with cooling and moistening your body, and that'll lessen hot flashes. And then herbs, there's some herbs really helpful. The number one herb used in all of the world, which we don't use much here in the Western world, but it's called black cohosh. And that herb actually helps increase estrogen and progesterone naturally. And there's a few others as well, like red clover.
I've never taken cohosh. Maybe I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great option to do along with some of the diet.
Yeah. With everybody, we all have our own stories, right? Whether it's when we went into puberty and we had a hard time, or into menopause on the other side and we had a hard time. It seems like women are just getting it coming and going.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just my little rant.
Tell us how you feel about it.
But for me, menopause, I didn't have a lot of symptoms. It didn't last real long, but I have, things that are different in my body now that are never going to be exactly the same. And so, there's a lot that you just have to learn how to deal with a different way of life almost, and how to adjust to it. So for one thing, just sleep is a little different. That's when my weight changed. So there are just those things that when you've been one way of life for 50 some years, and then things change, you have that, oh God, help me please, what do I need to know?
Yeah.
So things in general with just menopause.
Well, I want to say this too. The way that we look at aging in the Western world today is very different than the Eastern world. In the Eastern world, when somebody starts to get older, going through menopause, also as men age, there's a higher level of reverence in terms of this person has a lot of wisdom. They've been around a long time.
I want you guys to all listen to this.
That is what we need in this country, yes.
And so I do think there's a greater level of that in those other countries. And I think going from seeing yourself as maybe the hero in the story to the guide, guiding other people. So I think there's an element there of, if I'm not sure how many people of your audience is fans of Lord of the Rings. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
I am.
Oh my goodness, that's you.
So
Aaron's never seen it, but
so
I support my friends who do.
You're going from one of the heroes in that story to the Gandalf, right? To the white.
Oh no, I don't want to be Gandalf.
Well, you know what? Let me.
I want to be Legolas.
I'll think of another one. Well, you know what? That's a great character too. But I think it's just a different time of imparting more wisdom to others.
That is a really good point.
I went on a mission trip about 20 years ago to China. And it was a really, really great experience. And one of the things I was so blown away with there is that in the middle of the day, everybody will drink tea, they'll take time for lunch, and then people would flood into the streets and start doing Tai Chi, which is sort of just these movements of sort of flexibility and holding certain poses for longevity. And so in America, it's like, we got to wait. When we wake up, we start working, and we do it all the way till we go to bed. And there's just these natural rhythms and habits that are naturally in there. And those sort of things are good for menopause too. I think walking in nature, going deep spiritually and spending time just soaking in the Word of God and with God, it's very healing and nourishing actually to the adrenal glands and pumping them up. That alone will help hot flashes. I mean, they will decrease with doing more of that.
What you're talking about with China, we were in China one time, and there was one time of the day that the entire town came out and they all danced.
Yes.
In the square, and it was amazing. And it was a time of community and exercise and getting out. And it was cold when we were there. I mean, it was very, very cold. And this was in the Tibetan region. And so, but people would bundle up and they would come out and they would do it. And it was just kind of magical to see.
The longest longevity study to date, it's a Harvard study, it's 90 years old. and this surprises a lot of people, but they found the number one thing that influenced longevity, causing people to live longer, was having a close-knit community, friends and family.
Yeah.
And part of that was intermittent with that is like eating eating together with
Yeah.
friends, eating with family
Yeah.
meals. I mean, it was the single greatest determining factor of somebody living a long
That's
time.
interesting.
Well, we're talking about longevity. So I want to go to a little bit of a teaching from Joyce, because
Love that.
one of the most important things for all of us to remember is that what we do today impacts tomorrow. And so longevity being such an important point of our future. So Joyce has learned a lot of lessons, some the hard way. So let's hear what she has to say about being healthy and aging gracefully.
There are things that you can do that will help you stay young. Things that you can do physically, ways you can take care of yourself, keeping your skin moisturized, simple things. But the main thing is how you think. Don't start thinking, I'm old, I'm old, I'm old. Age is a number, but old is a mindset. God's got a good life for you. I mean, the Bible says that we can bear more fruit. Let's see here, Psalm 92:14. They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. Well, that's my goal. I want to continue to bear good fruit no matter how old I am. You know, I had a grandfather that lived to be 102. One grandmother was 93. My mom was 90. My aunt was 90. I'm planning to live a long time, and I'm not planning to live it just sitting in a chair being bored all the time. I'm planning to bear good fruit even in my old age. And you know what? It doesn't bother me to tell you how old I am. You know why? Because I have learned from experience that I need to take care of myself. And if you'll listen to me today, if you'll even listen a little bit and start taking care of yourself now, you know what? Wisdom does now what it's going to be happy with later on. Did you hear me? Wisdom does now what it's going to be happy with later on. And later on always comes. If you're 25 and you're sitting and watching me today, I'd like you to say out loud, someday I'm going to be 75. Go ahead, just say it. Someday I'm going to be 75. Matter of fact, everybody, if you're not 75, say that. Someday I'm going to be 75. And then remember that now, what you do now is going to determine what kind of shape you're in when you're 75. You know, a lot of people might say, I hear a lot of times, well, you know, you really look good for your age. Well, I've had to invest to do that. I started working out 15 years ago. I drink a lot of water. I get a good night's sleep every night. I've learned how to say no and not take on more than what I need to take on.
So that investment that you're talking about is something that we all need to think about. What am I willing to invest now that will pay off? And not only years in the future, but it begins paying off fairly quickly when we invest in our health.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I'm 82, but I don't think I'm 82. And that has so much to do with it. I think people have to be very careful. They start thinking, well, I can't do that now, I'm too old.
Yeah.
I can't wear that, I'm too old. I can't, you know. And you have to be careful because age is a number, but old is a mindset. You know, that so many people look old and they can barely creep around because they think that all the time, I'm old. And so Dave and I really started avoiding saying that even 10 years ago. And when I was 62, God spoke to my heart. And we'd been dealing with me trying to work out, which I always said I didn't have time for. And he said, if you don't do this now, you won't be strong for the last third of your journey. So me finishing well is one of the most important things to me. So I got a trainer, and I've been working out now for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 years. I started when I was 62. And I think that's one of the best things that a person can do for themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a friend of mine, and she says that muscle is the longevity organ. Like, it's so important for staying young. You know, what else is unique and something it reminds me, Joyce, is like now there's medical tests where you can do something called your biological age. So we have our chronological age, right? 82, 43. But you can actually do these tests and see how old is my body biologically.
Where do you get one of those?
Actually, I do. I have a virtual practice, and so we do these tests with.
We know a guy.
Nice of you to ask.
I'll send you one. We do these tests, and what else is unique is now we can look at organ age. And so how old is your heart or your pancreas or your liver versus, or your muscle versus other areas? In fact, I just did it. It was a fun test. And I was excited. I was 10 years younger than my biological age. But there are very specific ways you can do to help heal and reverse organ issues. I had my father-in-law who was just dear to me, passed away last year. And it was 0 medications, looked incredibly healthy, and had a heart issue. And for a lot of people, they have one organ aging faster than others. They might look good physically, but sometimes it could be a heart, it could be lymphatic system, it could be something else. And so, but there are ways to stay young. And I agree. I mean, really, your mind, keeping your mind being young, in staying active and doing those things you did when you're younger is probably the single best thing you can do to actually stay young.
Let me ask you this question from social media, because it is talking about our thought process and keeping our brain healthy. But she says, I'm in menopause and I'm feeling absolutely crazy. Can you help me with brain fog?
So here's this is actually a principle I hit on in I wrote a new book. It's called The Biblio Diet, Healing Secrets of the Bible, and really get into biblical medicine for healing. And one of the things you'll see in the Bible, it talks a lot about eating. I would say it was a moderate to higher fat diet. Dairy, milk is referenced over 60 times in the Bible. Red meat, which is pasture raised, that's high in healthy fats. That's referenced a lot in the Bible. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados. These things are all referenced in the Bible. So one thing I think that's really good for the brain and for brain fog is getting more of these healthy fats. There's a principle that has been around for a long time, and it's called like supports like. If something looks like an organ, it supports that organ. Well, if you look at a walnut, it looks like a hemisphere of your brain. And it's full of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, all these things that support brain and neurological health. So that's a great one. Actually, avocados look like a uterus, they say in Chinese medicine. They say olives look like ovaries. And what's really interesting is those have been shown scientifically to have compounds that actually help heal those specific organs. So I think for a lot of women—
That is so creative. That's just amazing.
Well, I could go through, if you cut open a carrot and you look at it, it looks like an eye. That's loaded with beta carotene, which is great for the eye. A tomato is red, and it has 4 chambers in it. Your heart has 4 chambers. It contains a compound called lycopene, which is incredibly healing for the heart. So it's amazing what God has done by design. So, God is making it really obvious. Listen, if you have hormonal issues, eat a lot of avocados, eat a lot of ovaries. If you have brain issues, eat a lot of coconut.
Olives, like not ovaries.
Yeah, don't eat the ovaries, eat the olives.
Actually, that'd be a whole nother topic. And people ate a lot of organ meats historically, but we can—
See, what women are afraid of at that point in life, they usually start gaining weight.
I was going to ask you about that.
And so they stay away from fats, thinking that that's the thing to do.
Here's the secret with that. You can't be high fat and high carb together and eat those at the same meal. You'll store fat doing that. But if you go, the way that the body works physiologically is you're better doing more carbs in the morning and less at night, and doing lower fat in the morning and more fat at night. So breakfast should be more carb and protein. Lunch should be protein, and you could pick fat or carb. And then for dinner, it should be more protein and fat. And as long as you're not combining high carb and high fat in your meal, then typically you're not going to have the weight gain. But that's the problem is most of the time you're trying to, a lot of times people are doing both, and that'll cause that fat
That is
storage.
very helpful. Here's a social media question just along those lines. I'm severely overweight and I love God so much, but I feel bad, like I'm dishonoring his home. But making a healthy change just feels so daunting, especially when I've tried and failed. So I do think there are many who feel like they've tried and failed, and that can be so discouraging. Sometimes if you find that right, what you were just talking about, find that right mix of things, does that make a difference?
Well, let me say this too. My dietary philosophy is that there's no one perfect diet for anyone. The reason I see a lot of people fail, I think there's a combination of reasons. One is sometimes people are like, well, my friend did it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing and it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I found this working with patients. When I have somebody come in with inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's or colitis, and if I have somebody come in with cancer, those are completely different diets. The person with IBS, they cannot do anything raw. It should be almost all soups, those sort of things. Whereas the cancer patients, I'm gonna have them actually do some raw, do a lot of vegetables. I mean, so it's a very different diet. So people need to, over time, discover what foods work best for their unique, the way God made them, their unique biology. And the other thing I would say is, when in doubt, eat a lot, do higher protein, do a lot of organic meat, needs to be organic, grass-fed, natural, and a lot of vegetables steamed. That might sound a little boring, but
Tell us that again.
yeah, I would say you want to focus on doing a lot of organic meat and a lot of organic vegetables. Meat and vegetables, if that is the primary part of your diet.
And what is organic meat? Oh, you mean just like...
Well, I would say, yeah, so free of the pesticides,
Okay.
free of chemicals and additives. I mean, I've had numerous patients, like in my virtual practice, and just other people over the years. We've reversed type 2 diabetes, we've reversed autoimmune disease, hypothyroidism, people getting off all their medications, cancer, and we've done it by helping people just use food as medicine. It's really a combination of doing the right foods, some of the right supplements to fill in those gaps that are maybe missing, and then lifestyle. And a big part of that is building peace, your relationships with God, your relationships with others, strengthening those ties.
Yeah.
If you can do that, I mean, I found you can reverse almost any condition.
That's really encouraging.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think growing up, watching like my mom and that age group, diet culture was really popular.
Yes.
And so I remember like buying Snackwell cookies at the grocery store because they were like, 100 calories. And so it was all based off of probably a lot of empty calories, but they were low. So
Yes.
that had to be good for you. But then as we learn more, some of that is just so backwards. And what you're saying, like, that's not whole foods at all. It's the opposite of what I need as a female to fuel my body.
Can I tell you something I remember growing up, and I think you guys may or may not relate to this, but like my mom and grandma tried to push margarine on my dad.
Oh, yes.
My dad's like an old
Big margarine
military
bucket.
guy, and he just was not having it. He was like, I want my meat, my potato, and my butter. Like, I'm just going to do butter on everything. And the funny thing is he turned out to be right. Like all the margarine,
Yeah.
all the seed oils, all this stuff. And so really going back to what your great grandma was doing, and going back to what the Bible talks about, like, some of the most outlawed things today by the American Heart Association, a lot of these large medical groups, are things that the Bible says, no, eat a lot of those. Like some of the most referenced foods in the Bible are red meat, high-fat foods, butter, salt, bread, honey, which has got sugar in it. I mean, all
makes me
those
so
things.
happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Ah.
so
I could go home and have a feast.
Oh, you could.
if you're eating foods the way God intended, like dairy's the best example of this probably. If you're eating raw, organic dairy, maybe it's fermented too, and do like a yogurt, it tends to be a healing food for most people. But when you pasteurize it, when you homogenize it, when it's been, the animal was eating grains and there's pesticides in the feed, they've been taking antibiotics, when all those things happen, it's no longer a God food. It's no longer that original thing that God created. It's now, it's now unhealthy to the
Sure.
body.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you buy the cow,
I would love to.
and Ginger can learn how to milk the cow. And they will
Yeah.
all have non-pasteurized milk.
I
like that.
do know how to milk a cow.
Yeah, it feels right that
Really?
you assigned her
I
that
do.
job.
I
I've
had,
actually done it too.
oh, well,
Wow.
Have you? That's so
see,
cute.
we could milk the cows.
Well, my grandparents, lived on the farm, and so I got flogged by a rooster and
Yeah.
all kinds of good stuff.
One time when I worked in television before here in Lima, Ohio, which Dr. Axe is familiar
A lot
with,
of family there.
I had to do a celebrity cow milking contest at
Oh,
the
no.
county
I
fair.
forgot about that.
And It was, I lost horrendously. I fell off the stool onto the ground, but I did learn how to milk the cow.
Wow.
So that will come in handy
Awesome.
if I need it someday. But it is interesting how our food has changed.
It is.
And how we need to learn a new way, even how to find those foods
Yeah.
that are the right foods for us. It takes research and education.
Yeah, I will say there's two ways to go about it. One is, I think we do have more access to these foods again now after not having it for a while. Because, we can go to places like Sprouts or Whole Foods Market, or there's a lot of specialty shops now where we can get more of these foods. I go to my local farmer's market. If you go there on Saturdays or when you have those locally and meet your local farmer, that's something we do as a family. I've got two girls, my wife and I, and we just, we go there, and the girls love it. They love going and helping pick out the produce.
Can you buy raw milk at those places?
You can't, a lot of them. Now, what they do is they put on this little sticker and it says for pet consumption only.
It does look scary.
And sometimes my kids act like, pets. But yeah,
You just drink it out of a bowl and then it's fine.
Yes, exactly. But we consume that and use that. So most states now you can. Yeah.
My daughter gets it from a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have easy access if I
Yeah.
thought I could swallow it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like as a mom of young kids, there's so much information out there, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming because we have so much information available to us on social media. It's do this, don't do this, you're a terrible mom.
Yeah.
But if you do it this way, then it's really bad too. So it can feel overwhelming and daunting. So to those of us who this might be new, like what would you recommend your first step should be?
Yeah, I would say, one of the biggest focuses is just trying to eat real food. I used to teach, I used to do shopping classes with my patients. And basically, and many of us have heard this rule, but it's easy. It's like, just stay on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
The Bible talks about the middle. It's like the valley of the shadow of death, right? It's where the packaged foods are, all the stuff that's going to kill you. So you want to stay.
The Oreos are.
Yes, stay away from those.
Bad.
Because on the outside, it's the produce, it's the meat, it's the dairy, it's just the real unprocessed food. So, get your kids apples, make them ants on a log, like celery with almond butter and raisins, do some of those simple, easy meals.
Yeah.
A lot of meat, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, some whole grains, bread, if it's sourdough or sprouted like Ezekiel bread, that's all great, So I just really try and just get a lot of real food.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was seeing Aaron breathe, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to interrupt you.
I was panicking about my grocery shopping. No, you're good.
We have another social media question. It says, I'm a new mom, and postpartum depression was not something I was prepared for. I feel hopeless. Anything for that?
Yeah.
Or even for pregnant women as well.
Yeah, I've got a few things. One of the biggest reasons, this is unknown to a lot of people, at least in the United States, is that one reason why a lot of women get postpartum depression is they have something that we'd call a blood deficiency. So think about it. Women go through birth, and the amount of blood that's lost and the placenta, all the energy that goes into that's blood. And a lot of people don't realize, in a way, your breast milk is actually essentially blood turned into milk. And so your body is using up so much blood. And if you ever had anemia, anybody would know this, you feel tired, you feel depleted, you feel there's a level of depression there. So one of the best things women can do is build their blood. And the way you do that is eat a lot of beets is really great. You can even get a powder like beetroot juice powder. Just drink that in water. It tastes pretty good. So that's a great way. Eating more red meat that's grass-fed and organic. Do a steak, do a grass-fed burger. Getting more red meat is good. Sometimes taking an iron supplement. Now, you want to take more of a food-based iron supplement or it'll bother your stomach. But doing something to naturally sort of build the blood. Green leafy vegetables are helpful as well. But generally, just in certain types of fruits, pomegranates help build the blood. So I would say building and nurturing the blood is one of the biggest things. The second thing is this. I think sometimes, I'm thinking back when Chelsea and I have had our kids, if you don't have family around, there's just sometimes a change in lifestyle. So I think having that community and that support and asking for it, I think more today, like my wife is like this. She doesn't want to put anyone out. She never wants to ask for help. But that can lead to loneliness.
Yeah.
And so I think reaching out, asking for help, still fostering a sense of community during that time is important. And then also, there's a few other things that can help that depression. One is getting more omega-3 fatty acids. You can get that by eating more salmon, doing more walnuts and flax seeds, getting more vitamin D. Try and get outside more. Sometimes you tend to be inside more. The baby actually needs a little bit of sun too. So you don't want to get burnt, but you do want to get more sun. But omega-3s, vitamin D, those are probably the ones that help, even clinically, help that the most.
Yeah. And it's really good. I remember when my kids were little and just getting out there, it entertained them, to go for that walk. And it was good for me. And still, honestly, that's probably been the one thing that I feel like has made a huge difference in my life through decades of just getting outside, being in nature, walking, getting the exercise, the sun.
Well, one of the things that I wrote about in this book here is that Jesus, they believe, walked an average of almost 20 miles a day.
Wow.
They said typically he'd walk 10 miles to 26 miles because it's talking about, he's traveling to different cities and he's walking all day long. And also he was a carpenter. So, he was moving a lot, but walking, I'm trying to remember the statistic, but it's something like we spend almost 70% less time outside now than we did 100 years ago. This has led to, by far, the number one deficiency people have is vitamin D. I think it's something like 94% of people have suboptimal levels of vitamin D. And vitamin D is also known as a pro-hormone. It's the most important nutrient you can have to produce the right amount of hormones and to strengthen your immune system, to strengthen your bones.
What do you think your level of vitamin D should be?
Well, we know it should be at least 30. So I would say anything below 30 is major deficiency. However, optimum is probably 50 to 80.
Okay.
Some people believe 60 to 80, but it's really probably 50 to 80. Really, so if you do a blood test and you're below 50, you want to supplement with vitamin D and be very proactive about getting outdoors more.
My doctor told me I needed more D, and it wasn't really bad. It was like in the 40s or something, but she said you need to get more vitamin D.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that actually, I don't think, there is this big myth about blood work today. People think, well, like there's this line, okay, and I'm either on this side of it or this side of it. Well, the line typically does not mean you're in optimal range. It means, no, you're just not really sick. So vitamin D is a good example. Like you would go to because you see a holistic doctor, they know that. And so because your levels, but if you would be seeing a conventional doctor today, if your number was 31, they'd be like, Joyce, you're fine. No need to take it.
Right.
So, and that's the power of functional medicine or somebody who really sort of understands that, listen, and one thing I've always admired about you, Joyce, is like your goal is not to just be average. Your goal is to be optimum. Like as Christians, we're called to be a light to the world. So I think that, we even see that in blood work.
Anything else about supplements for women? And obviously we want to get the most that we can out of our diet, out of the food. But what about supplements for women?
Yeah. So supplements are for supplementing a healthy diet, as you just mentioned. So we want to make sure you're using food as medicine. And just with the diet real quickly, I think focusing on again, meat, fruits, and vegetables. The Bible talks a lot about pomegranates. Those are amazing for women. It talks a lot about figs. Apples actually are an amazing food. So I think getting more of those.
You know how hard it is to get an actually good tasting apple now?
It's really hard.
Some of them taste like nothing.
They just taste like nothing. So I kind of quit eating
what I call them. Yeah, exactly. I remember my wife grew up in Minnesota, and we went up there when we first got married, and I was getting apples that were organic, but I went up there and I bit into an apple that they had just, and I was like, this is bliss. This is so good now. But and that's sort of another topic. The reason we need supplements is, on average, I think there was a study that showed the average nutrient in our food today is decreased by 40%.
Yeah, I don't doubt
So if you're
that.
eating an apple or tomato, it has 40% less nutrients than it should. So this is why I think supplements can be more important. I think the biggest supplements that women need today are, number one, this might surprise some people, but it's probably a probiotic. And the reason for that is, especially coming out of COVID, there are antibiotics everywhere. It's in everything we use with our hands, the cleaning products in our homes. between 60 and 80% of antibiotics today are not given to humans, they're given to livestock. And we get that antibiotic residue in their dairy and their meat. So the glyphosate, which is sprayed on produce today, that kills good bacteria. There's a study out of Stanford that I read, and it said when you take a probiotic, your absorption of B vitamins goes up by 50%. So think about that. If by taking a probiotic, everything you eat, you're absorbing more of. So I think that's probably the biggest one for women. That would be number one. Number two, the omegas and the vitamin Ds, I think, are kind of tied there. I do think if you've got more inflammatory issues, omega-3, like a fish oil would be good. Vitamin D, especially for immune system and bone health, I think is really good. And then I think a few others just to throw out there. And when you take vitamin D, actually taking it with magnesium as a combo, they actually support the absorption of each other. So that can be good. Taking a superfood powder, something that maybe has berries or beet juice in it, or some of these antioxidants that are going to help you age more slowly. That's a great option as well.
Is that like a red powder instead of a green powder?
Yeah, or one that has both, either or. I think you're going to have different antioxidants in both of those, the greens versus the reds. But getting those together or separately would be a good choice. And then, depending on your level of nutritional deficiencies, either a methylated B vitamin or a multivitamin. I'm not sure how many people are aware. Some people are.
What does methylated mean?
Yeah, so genetically, some people are predisposed to not being able to utilize or create certain vitamins as well. So here's the way this works. When you eat meat, for instance, red meat, your body gets folate. But it doesn't have the sort of folate that your body needs to run. It's like you get a car with no wheels. You need to put the wheels on, which is called methyl. Methyl folate is a usable form. And so sometimes you can buy the vitamin as a methylated vitamin, which is already in its usable form if your genetics are not.
It's the full car.
It's the full car.
It's got the wheels.
Got the wheels.
And so looking for methylated vitamins or food-based vitamins tend to be more absorbable to the body for a lot of people.
Oh, that's really helpful.
Yeah. And then I would say some herbals women can benefit from. Not Joyce on this one, but ashwagandha. That's great for thyroid and hormones.
Yeah.
But you know a good replacement for that is rhodiola. That's an herb that actually that's a good herb. Holy basil. They have similar benefits that'll help the thyroid.
Yeah, I'll try to take anything that will help me, but I historically have been allergic to a lot of herbs.
Yeah.
But the ashwagandha I feel so bad. I feel like I can't hardly move after taking it about 3 days.
Yeah, it can happen. Well, it's part of the nightshade family, and so for some people, if they're sensitive to those, it can be like almost like and it can be an intolerance and make you tired and
Tell me again what replaces ashwagandha.
Well, so ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb that helps sort of build up your adrenals. And so most adaptogens will help, but the ones that would probably help the most, one is called holy basil. It's also known as tulsi. It's taken as tulsi tea sometimes. And the other one is called rhodiola.
Okay.
And those are both have...
I'm going to the store.
Great, yeah.
You got a shopping list.
Great. Great.
Well, this is so helpful, and I would love to end on this one thing, and that is back to where we started, the spiritual side of this. Because we hear all of this, and it can sound like, how do I even begin doing all of this? Well, God doesn't work that way. He doesn't make us change everything all at the same time. He teaches us, he guides us, his Holy Spirit is there for us. So how do you encourage people to take this step by step and doing what they need to do with God's help?
Well, one, I would say, well, let me say this. So when I used to go into I had my full-time practice, and I still see patients today, it's a very similar thing. I can sometimes tell early on if somebody's going to thrive or if they're going to just barely make it or really fall off the wagon and not be able to do it. And it's really based on mindset. This is why, again, I mentioned Joyce's book. Your book, Battlefield of the Mind, is so incredible for this very reason. But if somebody has the attitude, on their first visit, sometimes I'll tell people, I'm just going to have you make one change today between your next visit. Just change breakfast. And I'll say, I'm going to have you do this superfood smoothie or something else. And I tend to get one of two reactions. One is, that sounds great. Hey, I can do that. Oh, 3 ingredients in this simple smoothie, great. But then I have some people that their reaction is, oh, I can't do my Special K cereal and skim milk every morning. And
No more Captain Crunch.
Oh yeah, no more Captain Crunch. And it's this thing of like they're so focused on what's being taken away versus their future and being healthier in those things. And so it's like that Bible verse: fix your eyes on Jesus, or fix your eyes on being healthy. Fix your eye on the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because if not, it is very stressful. If you focus on all the things you can't have versus focus on the things you can have and the great future you're going to have because of it. So that mind shift is really, I think, one of the most important things.
You know what really helped me, and maybe your book does this. If not, you might have another one. When I first started feeling bad all the time and wanting to get healthy and getting into natural stuff, I just read a very practical, simple book on nutrition.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons why people have problems is they have no idea what's in what they're eating.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
And I never eat anything without reading the label.
That's so good.
And so it's like, do you cover a lot of real basic stuff in your book?
We do. Yeah, we really go through, hey, here's the top 10 foods. Here's exactly what to do. We make it really simple. And again, we even say you can eat bread.
Yeah.
You can do dairy, but here's when you're buying it, here's the ones to buy.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
so
Very, that's really good.
Do you use that as your advertising tagline? You can eat bread, because that's what people want to know.
You got
I
Aaron
probably
hooked.
should.
Yeah,
I
that's all I
don't.
needed from you,
I
Dr. Axe.
don't, but I probably should.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Axe's book, along with Jordan Rubin, is the Biblio Diet, and it's your newest release.
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Just coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's so important that we really just all pray and say, God, I'm going to give this to you
Yeah.
because I know that without your help, I can't do it completely on my own. This is your temple. You care about it. And so when you ask, he will help you.
Yes.
So that's
Amen.
a really important step to do in
Yes.
all of this.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being here with us. We appreciate it so much.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor. And listen, I've been listening to Joyce's sermons for a long time, at least 30 some years. And
Forced by his mother at first.
Yes, but I'm grateful now. The things your mom forces you to do when you're younger that later on you're so grateful for. So
true.
Well, make sure that you go to joycemeyer.org/talkitout to catch up on all of our episodes. Head over to YouTube if you'd rather watch than listen, and make sure that you come back here next time, because we love you and we love talking it out with you. We will see you next time. Bye.